Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 10 of our Introduction to Literature class. This week we're going to be finishing up the novel Winter's Bone, and I wanted to spend just a little bit of time with this video lecture talking about the nature theme that seems to exist in the book. When we talked last week about the beginning of the novel, we saw Ree at the front steps of her porch, getting ready to take on what was coming to her. Storm clouds were coming over the horizon. She was there at the break of day, and the wind was there, kind of blowing by her, making her cheeks red. It almost looked as if her cheeks had been slapped and slapped again. And we see in that moment, and then in the following chapter, that Ree is very comfortable in the natural world. So comfortable that when she looks to retreat, when she looks to find solace, when she tries to escape her problems, she turns to that natural world, whether it's in the form of a thinking rock, whether it's in the form of going to stay in a cave, whether it's in the form of listening to those cassette tapes that have natural sounds. Nature's an important part of our world, and I think what we see in this book is that the human world can be dangerous, it can be threatening, but that the natural world is almost the opposite of that. It provides the things that the human world can't. Now here's an example of what I mean by this. And there are a lot of examples in the book where Ree comes to rely on nature, where she comes to find comfort in nature, and where she even uses nature to find truth. This is right after the evening she spent in the cave during the ice storm. She's come out in the morning, the sun has come up, the ice is starting to melt, and there's this little short passage. Hillsides knit with ice came apart. Ice slipped from everything, limb, twig, stump, rock, and cascaded, chinking to the ground. Mist lifted from the bottoms to lie over the tracks, but did not lift much above her head. Mist smeared like tears, squashed on her cheeks. She could see the sky, but her feet were cloudy. I love that line. She could see the sky, but her feet were cloudy. The stout ties moistened, released their tar smell, and she kicked from one wet tie to the next, sniffing tar in the mist, and listening to the ice chime in the trees or slip loose to shatter. She wiped the mist that fell like tears on her cheeks and pulled her hood tight. Larger ice shapes fell, thudding. Runnels of high melt cut wee downhill gutters in the snow. Ice sounds and trickle sounds and her boot thumping. At a bridge, across a frozen creek, she paused to stare down. She tried to see past the pocked skin of ice to the depths of flowing water. She was strangely still and staring on the bridge, until she understood her eyes searched for a body beneath that ice, and she crouched to her knees and cried until tears ran down her chest. This is a really interesting point in the book. It's about halfway through. When we're introduced to Ree early in the book, it says she's very tough, she's very strong. In fact, she refused to cry in front of others. Even a couple times when her grandmother, I think, had disciplined her with a garden rake, she refused to cry. But here, alone, amongst the natural world, she feels comfortable to emote. She feels comfortable to shed tears. As the ice is creating these little rivers melting down the hillsides, it's almost like that melts her own emotional self. And her emotions are matched to what's going on with the weather here, with the sun and the ice. She's looking, over this bridge and down into the water, and she realizes as she's looking that she's looking for something beneath the ice, potentially a body beneath the ice. And I think this is a moment where her mind starts to probe the idea that her father might not be coming back. It's in this natural world, it's in this natural setting that we get to see Ree come to terms with this, be comfortable enough to cry about it, to be emotional about it. The human world is not going to shame her for this emotion at this point. She is in her comfort zone, in her special place, in somewhere where she feels safe, and that's the natural world. Now, this is only one of the moments that we see reconnecting with nature. They're all over the book. There's ideas about horseweed being chin high. There's her comfortableness with staying in the cave. There are the tapes that she listens to, or the skills that she teaches her brother. I think what we see for Ree is that when things go poorly in her life, there's always those elements of nature that are steady and true. So look for this when you're reading. It's an interesting idea that Woodrell brings up here. I think he might even be making a case for something about Mother Nature and something about the natural world and something about humans' relationship with the natural world in this book. Think about that as you're reading this final half of the book. What is Daniel Woodrell, our author, trying to say about humans' interaction with nature? I think there's an interesting message there to be had. Now, I'm worried about Ree, of course, in this book. She's struggling to find her father. Things aren't going well at home. She does have her connection with Gale to kind of fall back on, but that's about it. There isn't much else there. And we even see that, people who might have been there to protect her are not doing that so much anymore. There's a lot of secrecy in this book, and there's a lot of, for lack of a better term, awful, awful men. And I think one of her biggest worries, besides where her father is what kind of man are her brothers going to turn into? And that's weighing on her as well in this book. We'll see how that gets resolved. We'll see how the missing father gets resolved. We'll see if she loses the house. And we'll see this relationship with nature become developed. This week we got a quiz and a discussion. Next week we'll be taking a take-home exam over the novel. So make sure you read it. Don't just rely on the film. There are some differences in the plot. And finally, I hope you enjoy the ending of this book. It goes pretty quickly. Hope you're enjoying the language, the poetic language in the book. I hope you're enjoying the characters, and I hope you're enjoying the plot. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. All the best, and take care.